I'm going to have a meeting with the HR person for this company. And why would they have a meeting, a Zoom meeting, unless it's to offer me a job, maybe? Fingers crossed. Or do they want to reject me in person? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The meeting's going to start in about a minute, so I'm going to record it. We'll see how it goes. I'm actually feeling really sick because of reasons, not this reason, like actual sick. And I just want to lay down. But I'm going to put on a happy face, see what this meeting is about. Just 15 minutes, so we'll see. Come on, just get on already. And I've been drinking too much coffee and I haven't eaten anything yet because I've been feeling sick. So, yeah. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
And we would like to extend an offer if you would like to come work with us. We'll be back to you shortly.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. I got an offer! Yeah! Okay, cool. All right, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put on my editor hat now, and I'm not gonna show you this section. I basically kept it together until this point, and it was pretty clear that I needed to lay down. The long and short of it is that I talked about negotiating. The line or the strategy that I used was that they were my top choice company, which is 100% true. And I gave them the reasons why they were a great fit for me and why I was a great fit for them. And I also told them that I was currently in the final rounds for 2 other companies. And this was also 100% true. And if they can meet me at a certain amount, that I will withdraw myself from consideration for these other companies and sign with them immediately. And I was honest. I didn't have any real leverage, like in the sense that there wasn't any other competing offer. But I still had like a very small amount of leverage. If you've ever conducted interviews before, it actually takes a lot of time and a lot of effort from a whole bunch of different people. And in my personal experience, after a certain amount of interviews as an interviewer, I just want it to be over with so I could get back to my work. Losing a candidate and having to start over would be the last thing I want. And I was kind of banking on them feeling the same way. So, it was just like using a little bit of psychology, putting a little bit of urgency and potential competition, the fear of them wasting their time and losing me as a candidate. I find that this can be a useful way to negotiate when you don't have any real leverage. Just to be clear, this is not a blanket advice, but it's just kind of mostly explaining what I did. And if your industry has different kind of culture with this, like you know it better than I do. Or if you have a different risk tolerance for negotiating, you know yourself better than I do. So you should do whatever feels right for you. But I'm definitely of the school of thought that you should 100% negotiate. A lot of companies are actually expecting it. And yes, in the end, they were able to meet me at the number I asked for. So yes, I got a job. Yeah! We finally made it to present time, or as close to present time as I possibly could make it. And for those that need a recap, the TLDR is that my previous company had a layoff in January that I survived. Then 90 days later, in April, I was laid off from my role with most of the company. My company then sold itself sometime in the summer. I want to say June or July. Obviously, I don't have the details. And after I was laid off, I tried to apply to engineering manager roles at first. It was kind of a weird situation with like kind of crappy timing. I outlined this in a previous video, but the long and short of it is that I ended up going back to being an individual contributor, which means I was going back to just being a software engineer. And basically 1 month after switching to applying to IC roles, individual contributor roles, I got an offer. And now we're finally in August, and I'm hoping to get this video out soon, maybe in the same month I'm recording this. So yeah, I got a job. And yes, the first call I made after hanging up was to my parents. And for those people who told me I should tell my parents that I got laid off, you would be pleased to know that I finally did. Of course, my mom predictably freaked out, and then I told her I got a job, and then her response was, "Oh." And that is much preferred over her freaking out and worrying over me. Now, before I continue, let's just give you another Sankey diagram on the whole process, because everybody loves the Sankey diagram. So as you know, I was going from engineering manager to applying for IC roles, and it was basically a night and day experience. Now, in total, I applied to 18 software engineering roles. Out of the 18 roles, I advanced to the recruiter screens for 8 of them. And similar to my experience when I was looking for manager roles, every single one of these 8 were either referrals or they were direct messages on LinkedIn from recruiters. And for the rest, I got 4 rejection emails and the remaining 6 were no response at this time at least. As for the 8 recruiter screens, I moved forward on 4 of them. One of them I withdrew from consideration because there were just too many red flags, like in terms of their profitability and their runway. I just didn't want to go through the process of interviewing with a company just to get laid off, if you catch my drift. So for the other 3, I kind of pushed it off the best I could since I was towards the end of the 4 loops and these 3 were just beginning. This was all happening over the span of weeks, not days, okay? So like the timing worked out well enough for me and I was able to juggle the interviews pretty well. So about those 4 interviews, I actually passed all 4 of those hiring manager interviews, even the one I thought I messed up on. In the past, I have advanced in interviews where I thought I completely bombed it, or I got rejected in interviews I thought I had knocked it out of the park. And maybe you might have experienced something similar. It's just good to remind ourselves that we just don't know exactly what they're looking for or what our competition looks like. So it really is a crapshoot, anything could happen. But I kind of have this tendency to like pre-disappoint myself. So if I've been rejected, it wouldn't be super disappointing. It wouldn't be a shock, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a weird defense mechanism. So after these 4 hiring manager interviews, the interviews after that were all kind of different in different ways. There were some combinations of live coding interviews, system design, pair program, and like some more behavioral type interviews. For one of them, I got to the final round for a senior front-end role and I got rejected. And then for the 2 remaining, I withdrew from consideration because that's when I got and accepted that one offer. And one offer is all you need. So for the remaining 3 that were on hold, I withdrew from them as well. So I could already anticipate some criticism that I should have just continued to do these 3 interviews for leverage or whatever. But those 3 didn't start yet, technically, and I already had an offer. So the timing there wouldn't have worked out unless I wanted to burn bridges. I'm sure my company would not have appreciated me asking them to wait 3 weeks so I could interview and get offers so I could use it as leverage against them. And because my new company is a fully remote company, there is no office to go to, which means if I end up moving, and that's something I'm actually working towards with my husband, I can take my job with me. So after negotiating and accepting the offer, it just didn't make sense to just keep going with these other interviews. Plus, I was also super burnt out, just crispy, and I wanted it to stop. So I promised to talk about how I got so many referrals at once, and it's because of my network. Surprise, surprise, right? But once I turned on the bat signal, there were just so many people who offered to help. I had referrals coming from like former coworkers across 3 different companies and, from online communities, and even some of you offered to help. I just really appreciate it. And just so you know, this is kind of a long game, and the TLDR is basically to be likable. But how? You should be somewhat competent at your job, obviously. Even if they like you, they might not want to refer you if you don't know what you're doing. Another thing I do is assume good intent from other people. Unless they prove me otherwise, they're not my enemy, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And if there is some problem, ideally I'd want to talk about it. And if they do prove to be, having bad intentions, then I'm just going to keep my distance. Another thing I try to do is to be helpful when I can. And this is part of building goodwill, and it's showing that I'm reliable. An important piece of this, quote unquote strategy is to help people without expecting something in return. It's not transactional. Like, I want to help them because I want to help them. But if you want to think about it in terms of transactions, you could help people because you want to help yourself build your reputation. The person you helped might not be able to give you anything in return, like ever, but there will be people who notice what you did and they might help you in the future. Now, my last thing is just super, super controversial. Just to be kind, to be a decent person. I know, it's crazy. If you want to be someone people actually want to work with or talk to. And these rules apply just as well if you go to meetups, networking events, conferences, etc. But if you prefer the safety and comfort of being online, there are Slack and Discord groups that are specific to your field or personal interests or professional interests that you could also join. And we're talking maybe it's something language specific like TypeScript or Java or Japanese, or maybe it's based on a location like Boston, or a specific technology like DevOps or the front end or security. And I do apologize, I'm only giving tech-related examples because this is what I'm used to, but I know there are groups that are in legal, healthcare, education, marketing, you know, just look it up. It's there. I've seen it before. Now, it doesn't have to be related to work. It could be specific to like a video game you play or a hobby you do, like creating YouTube videos. But, you know, obviously, if you're looking for jobs, you want to target more professional groups. The more professional groups will almost always have a job board that members can post to, and these people will often give referrals. I've actually gotten quite a few from these. I think it's a great way to network if you don't want to go out there, you know, IRL, like in real life, but you definitely need to engage with these communities and try to create some positive association with your name. And personally, other than YouTube, I don't really do any other social media except, you know, once in a blue moon I'll post something to like Instagram or something. I basically replaced all of the social media apps with these private groups. And in those groups, I do the same thing I try to do in person. I try to be competent, I assume good intentions, I try to be dependable, I try to be helpful. Like if someone asks the channel, like, how does the TCP handshake work? If I happen to know the answer, because I do, especially now, I'm gonna try to help them. And of course, lastly, I try to be kind. But since the bar is really low on the internet, it just means don't be an asshole. Now, I generally think I'm an easygoing person. I try to be helpful and supportive. And why is that? Because being mean and negative and moody and angry, it just seems like a lot of work. And I'm not about to overexert myself for bad vibes. And I don't know about you, but when I'm around happy and positive people, it makes me feel good. Like their energy rubs off on me. And it makes me think that if I'm able to affect someone positively in that same way, selfishly, it makes me feel good too. So it's this really nice cycle of positive reinforcement. And in the age of AI, like job posts are just slammed with applications because of AI. Everything's like automated. But someone on the other end has to sift through all of that noise. Like at this point, likely it's AI, but there's still a very strong preference from recruiters and hiring managers to have human vetting. There's also concerns about cheating and authenticity. And I think the word authenticity is going to become very important and valuable in this new age. Like, are you human? So you need referrals, and to get referrals, you need to grow your network. And you do that by making human connections. Now, I recognize that if this isn't something that you're already doing, you're not going to be able to use your network right away. It's a long game, for sure. But if you haven't already been doing this, you could start right now. Be decent to other people, and if you can, try to help them without expecting something in return. So that concludes the layoff journey, and it ended in a place I'm pretty happy about. But before we talk about what's next, I just want to thank everybody. In one of my videos, I mentioned I knew the layoff was coming, and I pretty cynically thought, you know, at least this is going to be good content. And when it actually happened, I wasn't really prepared for like the gut punch of the whole ordeal. And I was even less prepared for how supportive everybody was during this kind of shitty and confusing situation. And I found my favorite comments from you have been the ones where you all tell me that you can relate to my situation, or something I said resonated with you. And I didn't realize how much it would affect me, like how much better it made me feel to know that I might have made someone else feel better and feel less alone, because I certainly felt that way. And for anyone else who's going through the same thing, like you're not alone. I'm a content creator, which, you know, still feels really weird calling myself that, where I have a platform and people could comment to me and share these kind of words and their support, which I'm super, 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 super grateful for. And I know that not everybody has that, but if you're feeling alone, just know I got your back. I'm rooting for you. And when you tell me you had some success, like I'm not a hater. I promise I'm not a hater. It legit makes me feel good to see other people succeed. And if you're in a tough spot right now, like I'm sending you all my hopes and my good vibes. Like I really just can't put into words how grateful I feel for all of you and your support and your kindness. And I really, really appreciate that. And somewhat related to that, which is my clever segue, it's been really interesting to be on the receiving end of this parasocial thing. My videos average about like 15 minutes each. It might have been cut down from like an hour or two worth of raw footage. And like the point I'm trying to make with that is that it was cut down. These are tiny curated slices of my life, and viewers are going to react to it, and some might react stronger than others about certain things, and they might make assumptions about me and fill in the blanks, which is very fascinating and just strange to be on the receiving end of this. So it makes me start to think about like why do people react this way? How does it work? And then you add in the other experiences, like watching myself and my former coworkers and friends, they navigate through the roller coaster of job hunting, and we all basically reacted very differently to like different things or same things. And why is that? I didn't have a job at the time. I had a bit more time on my hand to like research stuff for fun. Like, does anyone else do that? Like research and write essays for fun, or am I the only weird one? And for the research, I'm talking about AI. I want to better understand how it's affecting us. We've had technology come and disrupt our lives before. It's not a new thing, but I feel like this is very different because this time it's talking back to us and it feels really human, even though it doesn't think and reason like a human. And this is similar to my reaction with the whole parasocial thing. Like, I want to know more because we now have people falling in love with AI or worshiping AI, and what are the implications of it in our daily lives? And how are companies going to use it to manipulate us, to extract more value from us? Just to be clear, I'm not interested in giving anyone advice or therapy. I have my own problems, but I'm very interested in discovering and learning the why and the how. So that's the new plan for this channel. We're going to try to explore the messy, human, and psychological side of living in a world run by tech, and really dig into the intersection of psychology and technology. And because I have employment now, this channel still remains as a hobby for me. And I'm still gonna do all of the occasional guides and like the day in the life of or vlogging stuff, because I still wanna have fun, and it's fun to do different things. So this concludes my I got laid off and I was looking for work series or whatever. But if you're as curious as I am about what makes us tick, I would really love for you to stick around. All right, we're back outside and I just want to keep talking about this. So I have some observations, and this is more for anyone who has a desk job that might be impacted by AI, or if you're looking for a job like that. If you're a nurse, you're an electrician, a beautician, or a plumber, someone who works directly with people like face to face or with your hands, feel free to skip this part. So over half the companies or roles that I interviewed for were AI related in some way. And this was when I was also applying for manager roles as well. We know, everybody knows, AI has been incredibly disruptive, basically to any industry that uses words or images with computers. But you still need people to work with the AI, right? I personally find that to get good results from AI, you still need to understand or have some kind of skill in what you're using it for. It's not a shortcut. It just shows whether or not you have that specific skill. I feel like it amplifies what's already there. It's a force multiplier, if you will. But if your skill starts at 0 and you multiply it by 5, or however much faster you think it's going to make you, what's 0 times 5? You know, personally, I think it's overhyped. But just so you know, I'm not a hater, but I'm also not a fangirl. I think it's a tool. It's a tool to be used. There are pros and cons, and I do actually personally enjoy using these tools. It does make me much faster, and I think it's actually kind of fun. But it's also making us dumber, and it has significant costs to the environment and to us as humans. I will finally buy into the AGI hype when AGI is actually achieved, which means it is essentially having cognitive abilities like humans. But in psychology, we don't fully understand how the brain works right now, especially human cognition. So how are you going to have AI quote unquote think or learn other than through marketing? Just because they call it a reasoning model doesn't mean it reasons like human. So I think it is overhyped because you could kind of see where a lot of the hype comes from. It comes from people who will make a lot of money off of AI. And those people also have a lot of power. And because we have CEOs, hiring managers, other decision makers, they're buying into the hype. And I want to say, even like the non AI companies that I talk to, most hiring managers I talked to had some expectation that this new hire would be able to use these tools. And basically, my main takeaway is that AI is here, whether or not you like it. If your job is mostly sitting in front of a computer or you're relying on computers in some way, you're going to have to work with it. If you're looking for work right now, I think AI is still new enough that you could stand out from the crowd by demonstrating some kind of proficiency in being able to use these tools. You kind of want to talk about how it makes you more efficient and that you could also bring that efficiency to the role that you're applying to. For me, I have a small amount of like personal experience working with AI. And because I expressed some kind of like enthusiasm for it, it definitely got me farther along in interviews than I would have had I not shared like the enthusiasm. Now, I don't think AI is going to replace software engineers, like not most of them, at least right now. But in 5 years or 3 years, I don't know. Maybe. No one knows how much this tool is going to evolve or change our lives. It might be a lot, it might be a little, and all we can do right now is just observe and react.